Hi guys, welcome back to 𝗕𝗘𝗪𝗏𝗧, another day, another walk outside. And this is day 2 of trying to get out of the studio, trying to get some exercise in whilst my gym is under refurbishment. So just going for a bit of a local walk again, same place as kind of yesterday. Might mix it up a little bit though, might try to go to some different areas over the next kind of few days and weeks and stuff like that. A bit of a cold one here in England though, so we'll see if the weather kind of permits. But we're not here to talk about nature walks and getting out of the studio and trying to get a little bit healthier, although very important things. We are going to be talking pretty much about Cardano, in fact, some interesting things. Now, what I'm going to be discussing today might be new to many, might be new to people who have just entered the space, might be new to people who have been around for a while and just were not paying attention. But this is not new to 𝗕𝗘𝗪𝗏𝗧. This is something that's cropped up back up in the media recently, but something that we covered back in November 2022. And we are talking, of course, about Cardano's Midnight Network. Now, Midnight Network is a very important part of the Cardano ecosystem. Not many people have probably kind of cottoned on to this yet, but it's a very important part to where the future of blockchain is going, right? And so we're going to spend a little bit of time today, just as I go on this walk, talking about the Midnight Network, what it is that it's aiming to do, and the importance of Midnight in the future. This is more of a fundamental video than the technical analysis videos that I normally typically do. In fact, I spent pretty much most of this bear market talking about Cardano from a technical analysis point of view. And that is great. It's very important that we do these things, and specifically when we talk about where we think the price of ADA is going and whether we think Cardano ADA is going to be a good investment for the future and all these kind of wonderful things. And over the last few months, I've been called all sorts of different names under the sun for calling Cardano basically requiring moves to the downside and to kind of see these new lower lows that we've kind of been experiencing over the last few weeks and months. Right, this is not unusual activity. This is not anything that we weren't expecting to happen here at 𝗕𝗘𝗪𝗏𝗧. So we're trying to kind of come away from some of that negativity, I guess, if you choose to see it that way. Personally, I see it as a huge opportunity, which is why I spend so much time in the charts, because there's huge opportunity in accumulating ADA at these low levels, right? So I spend a lot of time in the charts, but today we're talking fundamentally, and we're talking the network, Midnight Network, right? So Midnight Network, why is it important? What is it about? Well, for those who do not know, and there may be a few of you may have missed it, Midnight Network was announced by Charles Hoskinson back in November of 2022 up at the Edinburgh University. Chris and myself and 𝗕𝗘𝗪𝗏𝗧, we were fortunate enough to attend and actually have an interview with Charles Hoskinson back in November 2022 to discuss everything about the Midnight Network. That's still available on the channel. You can check that out at your leisure. I'm going to try to summarize some of the key points of the Midnight Network and its importance going further forward, right? So the Midnight Network is a privacy-centric blockchain that is essentially a sidechain to the Cardano ecosystem. So it uses zero-proof knowledge to essentially allow developers to choose what they want to mask and unmask. And this is really important, okay, and that's a real oversimplification, by the way, guys. I'll try to keep this as simple as I can. But essentially, the idea of Midnight Network is to allow developers to pick and choose what metadata they decide should be publicly seen versus what is only seen by an individual or an organization or a third party that is authorized to look at that metadata. Now, that in a nutshell should tell you absolutely why, or absolutely everything as to why we're so bullish on Cardano and on the Midnight Network. Okay, so the Cardano network, let's see if I can get that sun out of my face there. The Cardano network needs to have this kind of element of privacy to it in order to allow for digital IDs and for allowing for medical records and so many other use cases where you might want certain pieces of metadata not to be publicly visible, and certain pieces of data, fine to have visibility to it, right, and to have it out there in the public domain. For example, some clear examples of this, and Charles Hoskinson's spoken to us about this, I think back in early 2022 or late 2021, which was essentially, would you like to know, or would you like to have your Amazon shopping history, for example, shared on a public domain. Everyone can see what you've been buying, what quantities you're buying it in, the prices that you paid for it, and your name, your address, all of that information out in the public domain. Some of you might be thinking, that's not a problem, I'm not doing anything I shouldn't be doing on Amazon, but there are some items in there that say you don't want your kids to see, okay? And so forth. So having that information in the public domain becomes a little bit more problematic. So Midnight Network solves a lot of these issues in terms of keeping certain pieces of information to yourself, keeping them to, let's say, just a group of individuals that you authorize, or even just a government body, and making sure a blockchain is regulatory compliant within certain jurisdictions. So the idea here is actually quite a powerful one, but yet quite simplistic at the same time. Not that the coding elements or the implementation of such a blockchain on the side of Cardano is easy by any stretch of the imagination, but the idea is quite a simple one to understand. Essentially, certain third-party government bodies, for example, should be able to take a look from an audit point of view at certain transactions on the blockchain, whereas people in the public domain probably shouldn't see those things. And really, that's the power of the Midnight Network. So it's cropped up in the media again, talking about the generalization of Midnight Network a year on from when Charles Hoskinson first spoken about it. There isn't really any major changes, from my point of view anyway, from what we spoke to Charles Hoskinson about back in November 2022 versus what the media is talking about now. But it is good news to have it out in the media. Now, when we were talking to Charles way back in 2022, we were talking about how the Midnight token, Dusk token, will essentially be a fair launch. So you won't find the Dusk token already minted, it doesn't exist yet. And you won't find it in a private sale or in a seed round sale or anything like that. Chances are it's going to be an ISPO kind of deal, where it will be distributed to people who are delegating ADA into the Cardano network. Of course, if you're not yet delegating, you can check out the cheek pool. All the details are in the description below. We'd love to see if we can actually grow that pool a little bit higher after the disaster that Meld created for us way back in, I think it was 2021, 2022 when they did their ISPOs. So if you're not delegating, delegate to the cheeky crypto pool. We'd appreciate it. But the Cardano network, I think, is growing quite massively. Right? We can see a lot of things happening on the Cardano side, from a developer standpoint. Usually it's quite high up in the rankings for the number of commits. And we can also see that the total value locked is growing immensely for the Cardano network as well. I think we're going to see a DeFi boom on the Cardano network, and a part of that DeFi boom will have to have privacy-based elements to it. So I'm not surprised to see that the Midnight Network is being spoken about in the media, because it is a critical component to the future potential of Cardano. Now, I've oversimplified a lot of the things that I've spoken about in this video for the Midnight Network, and I do encourage you guys to check out the Cardano interview that we had with Charles Hoskinson back from November 2022. It is on the channel, you can search for that, and I might even try to link it in the description down below. If you are looking for more details, do join us down in the Discord. Link for that is also in the description below. Other than that, guys, I think I'm going to wrap this video up right there, and I'm going to continue my walk. So I'll catch you guys in the next one.